The shocking murder of a key federal witness in Gentilly Tuesday night once again raised the issue we've seen too often in New Orleans, the risk of cooperating with law enforcement. Investigative reporter Mike Pearlstein has followed this massive federal fraud case in his series Highway Robbery. Now he brings us this perspective on the harsh reality of being labeled a snitch.
All the snitches that I know ended up with a bullet in their head.
Amir Baraka knows the dangers of a criminal life. Now a successful actor, he did time in prison. He's seen what happens to suspects who flip to become government witnesses.
They rat, and then they get killed because they don't give them any protection. Or they go to prison and get their brains stomped out.
Cornelius Garrison had been secretly cooperating for months with the FBI in the massive fraud case involving dozens of accidents staged for insurance fraud. After Garrison was publicly named in an indictment with 8 others on Friday, he lasted 4 days before he was murdered. Even though Garrison lived in this relatively quiet and peaceful neighborhood in Gentilly, he explicitly told his defense attorney that he feared for his safety.
I think it's extremely dangerous.
Veteran criminal
absolutely.
defense attorney Craig Mordock said defendants frequently ask about witness protection.
Just personally, I've had a few clients who have asked to be in witness protection, and the general reaction from the U.S. Attorney or the FBI is just sort of a shrug of the shoulders.
New Orleans has a history of being especially dangerous for suspects who flip.
You're going to cross paths because it's such a small city. So you put yourself in a very, very dangerous situation. And again, the feds will not protect you.
The FBI has joined the NOPD in the Garrison murder investigation, but for now, the case remains unsolved. Mike Pearlstein, Eyewitness News.
No motive or suspects have been announced in Garrison's killing, but we should note the federal indictment charged him with being a ringleader who dealt directly with multiple accident attorneys in the filing of fraudulent lawsuits.